Where's my... Yay. Okay. That's not going to be my talk today, clearly. But very thrilled to be here. It's okay, it happens. Very excited to be here. When Hannes invited me in January or February, he said, I want you to come. I love your podcast. You and Simo are always bringing positivity. I was like, debatable. So we would love to have you. So I definitely decided to come today and not talk about J4, because that's not positive. It's not. Sorry, Brian, if you're here. Yeah. So today I'm going to talk about something a bit more positive, more exciting. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff to go over today. So this year nobody said this. I felt like there's time in 2024 for me to become the Antichrist of CRO. It's okay, Tan did it first. Tan Wesseling right there. Hi, Tan. Yeah, CRO, yes. So we're going to talk a bit about CRO. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about data science. And we've changed a lot in the last years. Think about it, like technology has changed. We're using tools that are debatable and confusing. It's cool. We have no choice. Users have changed, the way we shop online. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the world. So we're constantly having new challenges. However, our methods are the same. We follow the same old playbooks to answer to research questions. We follow the same playbooks to look at customer behavior. How many people here do tags every day, pixels, floodlights tags, and think, OK, I'm tracking customer behavior. This should be good. I should have something. But so when customers come to a website or an app, have different expectations. So those expectations lead to different actions. There's a very big gap between what customers expect from you guys as a brand, if you're a brand, or if you're an agency, what they expect from your clients, and what they do on the website. And unfortunately, and I know this is going to sound very sad for a lot of people. OK. Is it good now? OK, I'll be more smooth. I'll put my demure voice, very mindful, very cutesy. OK, I lost my train of thought. But there is a gap between, I'll stop. There is a gap between what users want and what they do on the website. And I'm sorry to say this, but GA4 Explorations is not going to answer to that question. It's not going to happen. But how are we currently trying to address this? So when we ask ourselves questions about the customer journey, what can we do? We set up a measurement plan. We start tracking some events, some forms. We look in GTM, we QA it, then we set it up live, and then we look at the same sad reports that we have. We create a dashboard in Looker Studio. We sell it, expensive. It's a very expensive artifact that goes and dies in the client's folders. It's true. But what I want to talk about today is that this gap that happens between what users do on the website and what they want is called cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance is when you have feelings that contradict your self-image. It happens quite a lot. It's something that if you are doing CRO, you probably, at least if you have at least 2-3 years of CRO in your life, you have heard about this from Andre Morris or from Tan there. It's something that people try to solve all the time, like how do we track cognitive dissonance? So cognitive dissonance actually appeared, this concept, in the 50s from Leon Festinger, but I'm not going to give you the boring example. So in my style, if you listen to my podcast, I'm going to do it in my own typical way. So let's say I just moved to Sweden. I'm Romanian. I moved to Sweden, so now I try to pretend that I care about sustainability and recycling. They like trash so much in Sweden that they buy it from Norway. It's just like trash there. So let's say I strive to live a very sustainable life. But at the same time, sorry, everybody does it. I'm always on Shein and Temu, looking at offers, looking at what they have selling here. This is in Romanian, because I was still there. But this is a contradiction, right? So cognitive dissonance is me telling myself I care about sustainability. I'm going to recycle trash. But at the same time, I'm on trashy websites. And if you're working there, I'm sorry. And you're welcome. I will be on these websites. I'm looking at offers. So I start feeling like, fuck, this is definitely not what I'm supposed to feel right now. I'm supposed to be sustainable. So I start telling myself stories. Maybe, like, it's just me. I will buy more clothes from Shane, and I will buy less from other stores, so this way, I'm saving the planet. Maybe when they write help on the tags, it's not serious. Maybe it's a joke. That was a bad one, sorry. Maybe, maybe it's, why am I supposed to be the person that actually changes the world? So this is some stories that I say to myself. If you're doing marketing for any company, or if you're working for a company, you're in charge of marketing, your website needs to tell the stories. I shouldn't go to the effort myself to lie to myself that I'm making good decisions. You should be the ones doing that. So what you have on the website, the experience on the website, the content on the website should be telling stories to convince me that I'm in the right place and I'm making the right decisions. It shouldn't be something that I should do or you should do. Initially, this slide was like, the sales funnel is dead, but I didn't want to be too morbid today. But I promise you, nothing happens across the sales funnel. Promise. It's nothing, at least nothing relevant. You cannot do a sales funnel in Looker Studio, and it's like, oh my God, look at me, I'm so data-driven. Customer journeys don't happen across a line from A to B. Promise. It's always messy. It's always, very dependent on a lot of things and a lot of signals. So when we make decisions as users, as consumers, I swear to God, 90% of the process is in our heads and not in GA4. GA4 is not your answer to describe the customer journey. I promise I have nothing with GA4. I love it. Love it. So today, guys, we're going to talk about what happens before a user makes a decision, before a customer decides, fuck it, I'm going to give this brand my money today. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. So I just moved to Sweden. Yeah, Sweden. It's the same word in Germany. That's all I know. Or nej, tack. So in Sweden, to be able to exist, you have to have a bank ID. It's the center of your Swedish existence. It's a whole horrible bureaucracy. So the first thing I did there was like, I need to open a bank account. I need to get Media Monks to pay me. I need money. So normally when people search on Google, they have the expectations that they will write different keywords. Companies pay shit tons of money to rank for those keywords. It's simple maths. Well, yes and no. If you look beyond what people search online, you will see so many feelings, objections, and fears that people have behind the bank account. So there's this tool called Also Asked that I will give a shout to Arnaud Helmans. Definitely recommend you following this guy. He's amazing. So Arnaud showed me this tool called Also Asked. And as you can see here, behind the search query, there's a lot of objections and feelings that people have. When you want to open a bank account, you're entrusting a bank with your money. Your money is the center of your existence. I don't want to hear any hippie stuff. Oh, money doesn't matter. Money matters. Okay? We pay our bills, we take our kids to school. I'm sorry. And I have a very big problem with retail therapy, but let's not talk about that right now. So even if you just read the stuff, you can see that people have a lot of issues. And imagine that you come from this SERP on a website that serves you content that's completely irrelevant to your query, which happens 99.9% of the time. But what if we could track that? And I'm that type of person that will wake up at 12 a.m. and Google how tall is Jesus. So that's how I came up with this idea. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. I'm getting to it, I promise. The first thought, when I started thinking about the fact that I need to open a bank account, I didn't go on Google and research. I just was thinking, think about the last time you guys purchased something. Let's say you want the new Samsung S24. That shit is expensive. You're not going to go directly. You're going to be like, damn, I would love that phone. I would love the new iPhone 16. But you're not going to go immediately and search it. That is going to go in your head and grow. But at some point, you will see, because it's the internet, you're going to see an ad. And that ad is going to take you on a website. And when you're on the website, there's a couple of things that need to go very well for you to convert. It's very likely that you're not going to convert the first time unless you have a huge transactional intent, and we're going to talk about that too. So when you're on the website, if your UX, if your social proof is not there, if the design is not there, if the messaging, the offer, all of this stuff matter. This is the way you tell the stories to users to convert them. Remember when I was telling you about the difference between internal validation and you telling stories? This is where is your space to tell stories, to tell compelling stories to convert. People will come from ads, they will come from organic, they will land on your website from a SERP. And if you cannot answer the questions and you serve irrelevant content, well, you know what happens already. So, okay, this is good. So, to minimize cognitive dissonance, you have to provide accurate information. To wrap up before we move on, validation and experience that resonate. So what can we do together? Brace yourselves, because it's kind of, I try to ease you guys in. It's about to get interesting. So I'm Juliana Jackson. I work at Media Monks. I'm Associate Director. I've been doing this for 14 years. I work with Starbucks, with Eurocar Parts, with Standard Chartered Bank. I do the podcast with Simo. If you heard that, I'm sorry and you're welcome. And today we're going to talk about 2 user stories that I have, 2 case studies. First, we're going to talk about how to transform static data into search intent. And then I'm going to show you how I helped Starbucks EMEA listen proactively to their customer voice. OK, let's do this. So, search is having a moment in 2024. Nav boost, AI overviews, helpful people-first content. It's a lot of stuff going on in the search industry right now. They say, you know, like Avinash was saying in 2011, they're the children of God, they're doing God's work. So as the children of God, they will suffer a lot and get paid very, very bad for what they're doing. And I know you guys are probably like, I thought this was a GA4 talk. What do I care? I do CRO, what do I care about SEO? Well, are there any Dragon Ball Z fans here? Come on, it has to be one person. Huh? Thank you. OK, so you're the only one that's going to understand the next joke. OK, good. Bad, bad. OK, why should you care about SEO if you're doing analytics or CRO? SEO, CRO, together, fusion dance, right? OK, are you guys with me? Optimize the experience with people-first content. So this is what we're going to talk about next. So to do this in the context of search intent, you need to use something called natural language processing. Natural language is the language that we all speak. It's German, it's Romanian, it's Swedish, it's English, it's whatever. In the context of AI, natural language processing is when you use a model to analyze the textual data to get out insights out of it. So NLP is something that can help us identify cognitive dissonance. And you have different types of dissonance. It's when you want more information, so it's called informational dissonance. It's when you need better navigation on a website, when you don't know where you're going, so you're just going back and forth. So for instance, if you're looking at the traffic report, and you see that people are going back and forth between pages, they're confused. You need to do something, like get your shit together, they're confused, figure it out. And then the most important one is the decisional type of intent, is when people are just ready to make the purchase with you guys, but they need kind of that final kick. And that's something that you should do through motivational copy and content and good experiences. So you're going to say, sure, Juliana, this is great, but like how does AI understand the logic between sentences? How does AI understand the nuances in our languages? Well, AI needs 3 things from us to fully understand dissonance. It needs a premise, a hypothesis, and classification. Simple data science stuff. Sorry. OK. So who is this? I need to explain this to you in the best way I know possible. So I have Mark Zuckerberg here with me. So you saw him, right? Good. OK. So we have Frodo here, right? So this is how I'm going to explain to you how you do this from a data science perspective. So Frodo has 2 things to do in this world. He has the One Ring, and he needs to destroy it in Mount Doom. Everybody in agreement? We all good with that? Gucci? Cool. So that's his premise. I have the One Ring, and I need to destroy it in Mount Doom. So starting from that premise, this is the premise part, that we have 3 outcomes that can happen. Frodo is on a vacation. It can happen. Frodo is on a dangerous mission, and Frodo likes to take long walks. I mean, clearly, if you read the book, you know that he's definitely not on a vacation. Or maybe he's into freaky stuff, I don't know. Clearly, at any point, Tolkien didn't say if Frodo likes or doesn't like long walks. We don't have enough data to prove that or not. But clearly, we all read the books, we watched the movies, we saw the meme, and we know that he's on a dangerous mission. So this is the reasonable hypothesis and the reasonable outcome from the premise. I have the One Ring, and I must destroy it in Mount Doom. Ergo, Frodo is on a dangerous mission. So to understand the relationship between a premise and hypothesis, and God, I hope you guys are all rested for the next part that is going to happen. Please just hope you had enough coffee. If I have the premise, my search query is, why is intent rate on savings account so low? The hypothesis that can be taken from here, manually as a human being that reads this, is that this query has dissonance because the visitor is seeking reasons to keep their money in a savings account. You need to be convinced. But how do you do this at scale? The answer is not ChatGPT, I promise. So what we're using and what we tested on a specialized language model is textual entailment. So textual entailment refers to the relationship between text, pieces of text, and where basically the hypothesis can be inferred from the premise. So this, in a simple language, means that the model that can recognize textual entailment, a specialized language model like BERT, for instance, so this is not an LLM, not talking about LLMs, not talking about anything like that. The textual entailment part is when the model can, at scale, look at search queries and infer to the queries and detect what type of cognitive dissonance they have. Is it navigational? Is it informational? Is it transactional? Cool. Obviously, here, cognitive dissonance can be expressed to language, so that's why you need a language model. For instance, if you look at here, I don't want to fall. Don't want to go down like that in Hamburg. So you see the relationship with interest rate and low, and I promise that square was where it's supposed to be. I'm not taking responsibility. But you can see that the model is able to understand the context between interest rate and low. So that is when you can apply textual entailment to infer and do at scale a hypothesis based on this. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how it looks like. OK, so we have premise, we have hypothesis, and the last thing we have classification. Classification, the best way I can explain this is, imagine you're rearranging your library, and you're putting books separately by author, with A, everybody is here, B, and so on. We use zero-shot classification, because the zero-shot classification is if you input a few labels to this type of classification, it's going to assign probability to how many labels appear in each category. So for instance, if we have search queries about bank accounts, then zero-shot classification will be able to assign probability of how many queries fall into each category. You still with me? We still good? Good, because I'll bring the pump on again. OK, let's bring it together. So it should be something like this, right? We prepare the data. I will show you how this is done too. In case you didn't, in case you don't know, I'm talking about Search Console data here. We have to prepare the Search Console data. It's interesting. I wish there was somebody from Google here, from Search Console, because I have some things to say. But I'm still trying to keep my job. If you're from Google, I'm sorry. I'm wearing your hoodie. Good. So we prepare the data. We enrich this data with brand sentiment insights. So I will show you in a second. If you're using Google Cloud Platform, you have NLP API, which is a feature in Google Cloud that you can use. It costs very little, like a coffee, and not in Copenhagen. A coffee in Germany is very cheap. And then you select a model that is capable of understanding textual entailment, and you feed it the search queries, and then you fine-tune the model, and then you're able to optimize the content because the model is going to classify your queries, it's going to tell you the search intent. OK, I'll get to it. How can we do this? OK, first, let's do this. Everybody here, if you have, of course, data science and a bit of Python in you, you could do this yourself. So I'm going to tell you how you can do this. You create a service account. Pretty easy. Everybody probably has a service account here, I hope. I don't. To connect Google Search Console with the cloud. You enrich your data. So you would run the NLP API on the data to see if the search query is positive, negative, or neutral. That's how you enrich it. So imagine another column. Because what you have from the Search Console, you have the landing page, you have the CTR, you have the impressions, you have country, the most useless dimension probably is country. Imagine you're in the US. I'm not even going to go there. And then you're going to use a model that is capable of understanding textual entailment, and that is doing zero-shot classification. A model like this is called BERT, B-E-R-T. It's free. You can go on huggingface.co, and you can take BERT and can deploy it in your own cloud. It's probably one of the most privacy-centric ways to go about it. We'll get there. We'll get there. And then you evaluate and fine-tune the model to make sense for your business case. When I say evaluate, I mean it takes time. If anyone here worked with a model, a language model before, you know that it takes time to get to accuracy. You will never get accuracy from the beginning. It's impossible. When I did this the first time with Krasimir, because normally I do this talk with my colleague Krasimir, we were at 86% after 3 weeks. We're writing a science paper about this. We were like, we're done. Fuck data science, fuck AI. It was like, we're not doing this. So it will take time to evaluate and do this. And lastly, you can actually visualize this in Looker Studio. I know I was trashing Looker Studio, but it's not that bad. It's OK. It's OK. Yes, I know this was gonna be next. Like, why are you complicating this, Juliana? Can I do this with ChatGPT? Can I do this with Gemini? The question is, I guess, do you want to do this with ChatGPT and Gemini? And I will say this, that large language models like GPT or Anthropic or whatever, they're a black box. They train their models based on what is the data that you input. You might say, sure, don't train on my data. I wish Yvonne was here so she could talk about the data privacy stuff more. Especially if you're in a highly regulated industry, I definitely advise you to not use a large language model to do stuff like this. A specialized language model like BERT is very, very optimized for recognizing textual entailment, so analyzing your search query and being able to understand intent. It's bidirectional, so it reads the sentence from left and right. So it fully grasps the content and understands the context of the query. It's very efficient in fine-tuning. It's privacy by design. So if you deploy a BERT model in your cloud, I do this for banks a lot. So this is kind of like the most privacy way of using AI if you're in a highly regulated industry. So if you're in telco or you're a bank or you're an insurance company, you don't want ChatGPT there, just saying. So to actually do this properly, you do need a data scientist. You need somebody that knows Python. You need somebody that has BI experience so you can visualize the data. And of course, you need somebody that understands machine learning. So not obviously, you don't have to be an expert, but you need to know the basics of machine learning. So don't do this at home. Don't try it. I did without my friend Krasimir. Didn't work out that well. Cool. So are you guys ready to see how it looks? Huh? I know I've been taking you to dinner this whole time. So OK. So let's look first at the distribution of search queries per category. So let's look at the classification. So the example that I'm going to show you right now is from a bank. And I will also show you a bit of a case study so you can understand this. So this is a bank. And we took their search queries, and we broke them down by categories based on what people are searching. So the patterns that we found: funds transfer and receival, app setup, deletion, deposit info, company, and scam research, stocks, and Bitcoin. This is investment banking. So these were the main categories of queries that we found. So I said, OK, cool. Useful? Not really. Not enough. So we went to the next level, and we applied textual entailment, what I was talking about. Like, based on the premise, and the premise is the search query, what are the hypotheses? So once we apply textual entailment, it looks something like this. And as you can see, it's a very exotic distribution between contradiction, entailment, which means it's a reasonable hypothesis, and then neutrality. So this is how the search queries are distributed. And again, you will be like, OK, this is cool. What does it help me with? Well, remember I was telling you guys that there's 3 types of search intent. We have informational, navigational, and transactional. So when you run this model, you want to see how the search intent is distributed, because you can build audiences from here, and you can use them in BigQuery, and you can start activating this audience. So it looks like something like this, and this is an actual case study. I'm really anxious about this stage. So we look at the search intent and what the user is searching versus what the page intent is. And as you can see here, informational intent is like kind of like the biggest one. This is mean questions like, how does the bank account work? How do I get started with bank account? How do I open an account? So how to questions, or what is questions, that means informational intent. So as you can see here, using our searching information, but the pages that they land to do not fit with the intent that they have. And then, scatter plots, baby. Okay, and then we look at similarity. And a similarity score is basically to what extent your content meets the search intent. So the way we do this is we tell the model, hey, these are the categories of search that we have. This is what people are searching. And then we analyze the content on the page to detect if it's either informational, transactional, or navigational. So it looks like something like this. So as you can see here, it's a very, it's a positive trend in this case here between similarity and impressions, but it's not true for CTR. Like the high relevance pages are getting lower CTR. And you know why those pages are getting low CTR? Because the information is not useful. The pages in this specific examples are full of rich content. They have doom scroll. They focus more on design and imagery versus content. So people are seeking information, but they're not getting it. And I can give another example for the automotive industry. In UK, the biggest search query related to car batteries, because you're Germans here, you like cars, yeah? So the biggest search query in Germany is like, why are car batteries so, in UK, is why are car batteries so expensive? Car batteries are not that fucking expensive, it's like 100 euros. But for some reason, that's the main search query in the UK. And no blog in the UK that sells car parts is able to answer to that question. I know because I work with one of those companies, so I had to do that research. So imagine you're coming from a SERP, you're ready, you want to transact, you want to convert, but you don't serve the content. So knowing this search intent, knowing what people are searching for, is going to help you write better copy, it's going to help you have better imagery, and obviously improve the experience. Basically, what you're doing is building a hypothesis machine. When I was starting this conversation, I was telling you that our methods have not changed. We are using the same old played-out playbooks to come up with hypotheses. We're doing interviews, we're doing user research, we're doing UX audit. We're saying that, oh my God, the button color is not correct. We need to make it red, or we need to make it right. Like, who cares? Who gives a shit? Like, just leave the button colors. The way we approach UX nowadays and CRO is very antiquated. It's how it was done back in 2010 when it was invented, when it was pioneered. But the world has changed. We need to find different ways and look at data in different ways and look for different data sources to come up with actual answers to the real world problems that we have in 2024. So you want to see how a hypothesis works. So we did this analysis for this set bank. So the main hypothesis, like, the problem here is that we don't have enough relevance on these pages. So Ton Wesseling, who taught everybody CRO in this, probably here, I have this formula from him. So I'm obviously not going to read this, but because we saw the hypothesis formula is because we saw this. So because we saw a mismatch between what users expect and what they find, we expect that by improving content relevance and visibility, users will have a clearer understanding and stronger motivation right from the initial interaction. And we will measure this by. So a hypothesis always has to start like, we saw this, we noticed this, we expect that, the change that you will do, and you have to measure it by. So this is how you're forming hypotheses. You're not doing boring UX audits and CRO audits and come up with the same bullshit every time. Okay, so this, as I showed you earlier, is basically this in the back. You run the search queries through an AI model. You categorize the search queries based on search patterns. You look at the volume of the queries, what's the potential in attracting visitors, and then you detect the search intent and similarity between the content that you serve and the intent that people have. And I don't have any more time, but I will share this. What I did for Starbucks is I used the language model, 2 minutes. I will use I used the same language model to analyze their customer reviews. And they had a lot of reviews, not all of them positive. So if you're here using the Starbucks app, I'm sorry again, and you're welcome, because we're to blame for it. So we did a similar thing for them. I'm going to skip through this just to show you how it looks. So what we did is we took the ratings and reviews from Google Play and App Store. We mixed it with events in Firebase. Then we used Google Cloud to process these reviews, to normalize the data, to run the NLP model on it. And then we were able to identify what are the main opportunities in the account that can be improved with CRO, that can be improved with tracking, and so on. And if you want to read more about this, is here, because I don't have any more time. But yeah, I'm letting you guys, yes, I promise I had such a good delivery for this. Okay, so AI definitely has changed the economics of everything. So NLP, natural language processing, changes how we interact and how companies interact with their customers. So if you're not using this right now, you're going to be left behind a lot. And for most companies, this is a disrupt or defend moment. You're either going to be afraid of it and freak out, or you're either just going to go with the flow and start using this for your business. And yeah, forget about things. It's all about experience right now. And I write about this on my blog on julianajackson.com. I explain how I do this in large. So if you want to go, it's here. And you can connect with me here. So thank you.